The Bible has the answer. The questions are yours. I go to the Bible, God's holy word, to find answers. Several questions today. We'll try to deal with them rapidly. Question number 1. How could Noah sacrifice if he took 2 of each kind into the ark? Good question. But dear friend, you stopped reading at Genesis chapter 6. Had you gone on to Genesis chapter 7, you would have read that he took 7 of each clean animal and each clean bird into the ark. And so there was some despair for a sacrifice that Noah made to God after the flood was over. 2 lions, but perhaps 7 sheep went into the ark, and some of them became sacrifices. Question number 2 now, is the Ontario pastor right that Paul was called Matthias and took Judas's place? No, that pastor needs to read his Bible again. Acts chapter 1 verse 21 says that Joseph and Matthias had been with Jesus all during his earthly ministry. Saul of Tarsus, of course, did not qualify. He was a Pharisee and hated Christ and the Christians. The Bible says, Galatians chapter 1 verse 18, that St. Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, didn't even go to Jerusalem until 3 years after his conversion, and so St. Paul was not Judas's successor. Question number 3 now. What does Luke 23:21 mean by a green tree? Well, of course, green trees are green in the rainy season of the year, and the leaves turn brown when there is no rain. And so all that is saying is that in good times, people act a certain way. How will they act when persecution comes upon them? It's a very simple statement known well to early people. And now question number 4. Why does Mark 2:21 forbid patching an old garment with new cloth? The statement is made that the new cloth will cause a tear, and so things will be worse. Well, what's that all about? New cloth, of course, they didn't have pre-sanforized clothing 2,000 years ago. And so the new cloth would shrink and cause fresh tearing. We need to remember that new cloth does shrink. And now question number 5 for today. What would have happened if Adam had joined Eve in her sin? Well, I'm guessing now, but perhaps God would have judged Eve and eliminated her, and then given Adam a new companion so that they might serve God here on this earth. However, the Bible tells us that Adam and Eve did share in their sin, and as a result, sin came into the world, and death by sin, and death passed upon all men, in that all have sinned. Thank you so much for these good questions we've tried to answer today. I hope the answer has been a blessing. If you have a question you'd like me to use on The Bible Has the Answer, please write it out, send it to me. I'll be pleased to hear from you, and I'll get to your question on the air just as quickly as I can. And when you write, all the address you need is simply Faith to Live By, Box 426, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C 2H6. The trio now, a humble confession. All of us can say the same. We are unworthy of God's mercies.